So I just came out of a conversation talking to somebody about what is perceived to be a high level of ambiguity in some of the requirements in DORA. Now, I've been around financial regulation for a while, and it doesn't really matter what the regulatory framework is. It could be Basel III, Solvency II, EMIR, MiFIR, whatever. The complaint is recurrent, which is the requirements aren't specific enough. Yes, often a true statement. Now, there's nuance to this. So much of the regulation we have, in Europe at least, is principle-based, which means the target outcome is clear, but the means to achieving the target outcome are within the locus of control of the financial entity, or whoever the covered entity is, the regulated firm. And that's where this conversation does need to be a little bit nuanced. So, in certain cases, yes, there is ambiguity. And in those cases, the most appropriate avenues to address it are by engaging with your government and regulatory affairs team so that they can then engage with your trade associations, that there could be responses to consultations to the regulatory authorities and the policymakers, questions raised through official channels to those same authorities. What I've noticed, though, in all of these years that I've been around regulation is that sometimes the ambiguity is not so much ambiguity as a space in which organizations need to make decisions. Now, because the regulation is principle-based, it is by definition non-prescriptive. So in that space, there is the possibility for firms to choose their own course of action, how they want to achieve the target outcome defined by the principle. But having choice means responsibility for making a selection within a range of options. And that comes with risk, because you might get it wrong. And nobody wants to be the person who the blame gets pinned on for making potentially a wrong decision. So a lot of what I'm seeing right now in the industry, and again, it's not new, but it's exacerbated, is DORA is revealing organizational dysfunction. It's revealing the flaws and the cracks in organizational culture, where organizations are struggling to make decisions and pointing to ambiguity. My suggestion is be honest with yourselves about, is it really ambiguous? And if it is, like I said, there are avenues to address that. Or is it just uncomfortable? And if it's just uncomfortable, no matter how uncomfortable it is, well, that's where you need to decide how you want to show up. Do you want to actually take on the responsibility of finding a path forward? Or is it safer? Might be. Is it safer in your organizational context just to keep your head down and be part of the cohort kicking the can down the road? Maybe. It's not for me to judge. My only point here is that sometimes there is ambiguity and it's outside of our locus of control. Sometimes there is ambiguity and it is within our locus of control to do something about it. And that choice is ours. It's our choice as individuals about how we want to show up and, embrace that discomfort. And it's also a choice of the organization about how proactive a given firm wants to be in terms of finding solutions and edging a way forward. The other thing is, if you are in the camp of people who want to actually do substantive work, constructive work, things that make sense and actually mean something, being pragmatic about this, my best suggestion is that you seek out the individuals in your organization who know stuff about these things. So regardless of the topic, it could be third-party risk management, it could be threat-led penetration testing, it could be incident response, it could be security controls. There are always people who know. They're not necessarily at the top of the org chart. They're not necessarily hugely visible, but you will find them if you go looking. And it can be super powerful to build relationships with these people one-on-one. Don't try and do it in a big group meeting where there are a bunch of other people. Don't try and do it via an email with 20 people in copy, connect with them one-on-one, and build a relationship with them, person to person, human to human. That's how you get stuff done. You get stuff done by building trust and having conversations and sharing what you know, learning from what somebody else knows, combining it, bringing other people who are like-minded into that conversation and inching a way forward. It doesn't have to be perfection, and I think that's one of the things that people are really struggling with. Yes, there's an enforcement date. The enforcement date's in January. It's not going to go away. But the mindset and the long-term target objective of all of this work is incremental progress. And the incremental progress could and should start now. So don't let perfection be the enemy of good enough. Start. Start by exposing what you know in your particular field, and then finding the people who can increment it, who can come with you, and who can help figure out a path forward, even when there's ambiguity.